Hello, I've been working on my upcoming book, A Practitioner's Guide to Self-Injury, which is for the professionals, whether that be a school counselor, a nurse, a family practitioner, a counselor in a hospital or a nonprofit organization, anyone that may be a professional that is working with self-injury. And I thought that I'd go through some of the myths behind self-injury and do a little bit of elaboration, which in the practitioner's guide, I go into full explanations as to why the myth isn't true and the reason behind it, how that myth developed. So one of the myths is that self-injury is primarily a teenager's issue, and that's absolutely false. In particular, we've noticed an increase in the number of elementary age self-injurers. I recently had to start a tween self-injury group, so I had so many calls coming in for a group for tween girls that I now have the 10 to 12-year-old group. But I've had people report that they started self-injury as young as 4, 5, and 6 years of age. And I've had numerous adults that did not start to injure until after the age of 18. And some that have continued into their adult lives into their 30s or 40s or 50s, self-harming. Another myth is that the majority of self-injurers have bipolar disorder, and that is also false. Now, in the book, I'll go into much more elaboration as to the rule-outs and the various diagnoses that bipolar can mimic, rule-outs, basically, such as anxiety disorders, ADHD, substance use, etc. But from my professional experience of working with self-injury since 1999, I have diagnosed plenty of cases of major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, OCD, PTSD, eating disorders, and several other things as the reason behind the self-injury. Now, bipolar absolutely comes up as a diagnosis, but it is not the primary reason why people self-injure is because they are bipolar. Oftentimes, if a teenager presents with lots of anger and they're being impulsive, that practitioners that may not know how to do a thorough evaluation jump to conclusions and assume that anger equates to a manic episode. And so you just need to be very careful of looking at all the psychosocial factors, all the different variables that may be mimicking as mania. And the final myth that I will touch on is that 90% of injurers are females. And again, it's completely untrue. Unfortunately, the guys have been catching up. And while the stats in the United States aren't quite 50-50, the majority are still females in the United States, and other parts of the world, the statistics are getting closer to the 50-50 mark. So don't assume that just because it's a teenage boy that he's not self-injuring. It may be that they're just showing it in different ways, that their self-injury isn't maybe cutting, but maybe it's burning or hitting themselves or picking fights to get beat up, or a variety of other things that we may even dismiss as being accidents or the boys will be boys. So I hope this was helpful. If you'd like to read about some additional myths or other tips about understanding self-injury and what to do and what not to do, understanding the 35 reasons behind it, you can go to my website at www.lorivancounseling.com and go to the shop page, that's SHOP, and purchase a Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury. It's a practical book. It's meant for the layperson. It's not filled with lots of theory and jargon. It's really designed for the person to be able to pick it up and go to the section that they need at that moment. So again, it's a Caregiver's Guide to Self-Injury, and that's available through my website. And I will look forward to touching base with you again.